Okay, let's talk now about other profitability ratios, right? That might be important. Remember, this is only a short set of financial ratios. This not all of the financial ratios, but those are the basic financial ratios. Another one is called ROA bit. Okay, ROA bit at time t. That is basically how much money the company made in earnings before interest and taxes at a specific period of time, divided by total assets at the period of t minus 1. That is at the end of the last period, or the same saying that is the total assets at the beginning of the period. Okay, now basically in this case, unlike the ROA, right? What is the main difference between this is versus ROA? Okay, remember that ROA has in the numerator, it has net income instead of earning before interest and taxes. Then guess what? The ROA bit is actually measuring more directly kind of the operational performance of the company without looking out at interest and taxes, right? It is how much money it's like the gross income, right? How much the company is making without considering the way the company is financing, right? Interest expenses, and without considering the amount of taxes. Okay, then but basically it's measuring also how much money the company is making in earnings before interest and taxes for every dollar, for every peso invested in total asset. Okay, then let's review other basic ratios. Okay, I'm gonna go quickly to something pretty simple that is basically doing some math, and this was very interesting because this was discovered in the 70s in a company, in the Dupont company. You will see that it's pretty simple, and it was a kind of a big discovery, right? But it's pretty simple, and is used in all companies basically to analyze what's happening with the financial analysis, with the financial situation of a company and performance. Then if you have the ROA, right? You have ROA, right? And what would happen if you do the following, right? This minus 1. If I have this is the ratio, then what happens if I multiply this one times 1? Then nothing happens, right? Then it's total assets t minus 1, right? Then if I multiply this one by 1, nothing happens, right? And you can say that 1 is what happens if I do this. Total assets of t minus 1. Then instead of putting the 1, I'm gonna put here. I'm gonna put like just to make it to avoid confusion. This is a multiplication sign as well. This in terms of multiplying by 1, I'm gonna multiply by 1, but I'm gonna call it sales. Okay, sales divided by sales in the same period is equal to 1, right? Then this is the same as 1. Then nothing happens to the ratio. Then what would happen is that right here we have something interesting, right? And right here we have something interesting as well. Okay, then this is going to be equal to what happens if you divide net income a specific period divided by sales. Okay, and you multiply that by sales divided by total assets at t minus 1. Okay, then what this ratio represents and what this ratio represents. Okay, if you see net income divided by sales is the percentage of how much for every peso of sales, how much the company is making in net income, right? Then this is also called, in business terms, this is also called the profit margin. Okay, profit margin for every peso received in sales, how much money the company is making. Okay, and this one is called, if you divide sales divided by total asset, this is called asset turnover turnover. This ratio is pretty easy to understand because it's more familiar to most of the business people or more business students. Asset turnover is a little bit difficult to understand, but it's basically, if you see the ratio, is just saying, okay, how many times the company is making money in sales. How many times in terms of total assets? For example, if the total asset of a company is 1 million pesos, and the company, one specific year, the company sold 2 million pesos. What does that mean? That the company sold twice the value of its own assets. Okay, that is asset turnover. Then what does that mean? That the higher this ratio, if that is very high, that means that the company is doing very well in selling its products. Okay. Right, in this ratio, I'm not analyzing the specific margin, how much money a company is making. It's analyzing how fast the company is selling its own products or services with its own resources, with its own assets. Okay, how fast they are selling products and services. Okay, this is called the Dupont analysis. You might be very familiar with it. Okay, just analysis. Okay, because I was discovering the Dupont company, right? Then this is very good. It's very simple analysis, but then you can decompose the ROA. You can decompose the ROA in these two terms, and this is very useful because sometimes you want to see what happened with the ROA in one specific period of time. What happened with the ROA in t-1? Then usually the ROA moves up or down, and a lot of times you want to know why. What happened? If in one specific year, the company had, for example, 10% in return asset, and the next year it had 8%, then wow, what the investors are gonna be asking immediately, what happened? Why the company reduced its return on assets? Then you can go to these two components and see either if the reduction in return on assets is due to the profitability, right, regarding to the profit margin, okay, right, or if that is regarding to the capability of the company to make sales. Okay, and I'm going to stop here. Then the next video we'll continue doing a little bit more analysis, okay, of financial ratios.